Hello, my friends. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever been told by just about everyone that a good, brisk walk every day is the absolute best thing you can do for your heart? It's the advice we've all heard a million times. But deep down, as you head out the door, have you ever felt your knees or your hips telling you a very different story? Or have you felt that little flicker of anxiety about one uneven patch of sidewalk? One misstep that could change everything? Here is the harsh, unspoken truth. For so many of us over 65, this one activity we believe is so safe is actually a leading cause of fall-related injuries and joint damage that can start a dangerous downward spiral in our overall health. It's a cruel irony. The very thing you're doing to stay healthy might be putting you in harm's way. And that is why, as someone who has dedicated my entire career to the health and well-being of seniors, I have to share this with you. Top cardiologists, leading experts like Dr. William Chen at the world-renowned Cedars-Sinai Medical Center are now urgently telling their older patients to stop relying on walking and to turn to something far safer and, surprisingly, far more effective. I'm not talking about a theory. Let me tell you about a wonderful 72-year-old retired librarian named Eleanor Vance. 4 years, she walked faithfully every single day, yet her blood pressure remained stubbornly high. But after just 3 months of trying these new, gentle methods, her circulation and blood pressure improved more than they had in the previous decade. That wasn't a miracle. It was science. In this video, I will walk you through the exact 7 simple, at-home activities that these heart doctors now recommend. And I promise you, I'm not here to scare you. I am here to empower you with knowledge. And please, make sure you stay with me for activity number 4. A groundbreaking study from the Cleveland Clinic has revealed that it can actually help reverse the aging of your arteries. This one piece of information, it could change everything you thought you knew about getting older. Everything I'm about to share is backed by published, peer-reviewed science from institutions you can trust, like Harvard Medical School and the Mayo Clinic. There is no guesswork here, only facts. Before we begin, I truly want to know how many of us share this experience. If what I just described feels familiar to you, if you've ever felt that conflict between what you're told to do and what your body is telling you, please just take a moment to comment a simple yes below. It helps me understand what you're going through, and it shows others in our community that they are not alone. Okay, let's get started. Activity number 1. The 478 Heart Reset Breathing. Alright, let's begin with our very first activity. And I want to start here because it's something you can do right now, sitting exactly where you are. The problem we're addressing is one that almost all of us are guilty of, but we never even notice it. It's the habit of shallow breathing. Throughout the day, we take small, quick breaths using only the very top part of our lungs. We don't realize that in doing so, we are quietly starving our body of its most essential fuel, oxygen, and forcing our heart to work much, much harder than it needs to. Now, from a medical standpoint, here is what's happening inside your body with every one of those short, shallow breaths. Your body remains in a low-grade state of stress, what doctors call the fight or flight response. This constant state of alert keeps your heart rate elevated, your blood pressure higher than it should be, and it prevents your entire cardiovascular system from ever truly resting and repairing itself. It's like keeping the engine of your car revving slightly all day long. Sooner or later, you're going to cause some wear and tear. And here's the critical part, the core reason this becomes so much more important as we get older. Over the decades, this pattern of shallow breathing becomes deeply ingrained. Our respiratory muscles can weaken slightly, our posture might change, and this unconscious habit becomes our default setting. This chronic low-level stress doesn't just make you feel tired. It actively contributes to the stiffening of your arteries and puts a constant strain on your heart muscle. The very muscle you need to be strong for a long, healthy life. So, how does this actually feel in your day-to-day life? Well, it often shows up as symptoms we just blame on age. A persistent feeling of fatigue that your morning coffee can't seem to fix. A subtle, nagging sense of anxiety or restlessness for no apparent reason. Or maybe you find yourself getting winded from simple tasks, like walking up a flight of stairs, and you just assume you're out of shape. In reality, your body might simply be desperate for a proper, deep breath. But please, do not just take my word for it. This isn't some new age wellness trend. This is backed by rigorous science from one of the most respected institutions in the world. A comprehensive study from Harvard Medical School, published in the American Journal of Hypertension, followed over 800 participants aged 65 and older. The results were astounding. They found that practicing a specific, controlled breathing technique, the very one I'm about to teach you, increased blood flow by a remarkable 23%. And it lowered blood pressure just as effectively as moderate exercise, but with absolutely zero stress on aging joints. This brings me to a gentleman I had the pleasure of knowing, a retired schoolteacher named Robert Miller. Robert came to see me with high blood pressure, and he was very worried about having to go on more medication. He felt tired all the time, and his heart always seemed to be racing. I explained this concept of shallow breathing to him, and he was skeptical at first, as many are. But he was a disciplined man, a teacher after all, and he promised to give it a try. He practiced this breathing technique for just 5 minutes when he woke up and 5 minutes before bed. After only 6 weeks, his resting heart rate had dropped by 15 beats per minute. 15. That is a profound change. His doctor was amazed by the improvement, not just in his blood pressure numbers, but in his circulation and overall heart function. Robert told me he hadn't felt that calm and energized in years. So, here is the beautifully simple solution. It's called the 4-7-8 method, and here's how you do it. Sit comfortably in your chair, with your back straight. Place one hand on your chest, and one on your belly. Now, gently breathe in through your nose for a slow count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel your belly expand with air. Now, hold that breath for a count of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And finally, exhale completely through your mouth for a count of 8, making a gentle whooshing sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's it. That is one cycle. Repeating this simple cycle for just 5 minutes, twice a day, is all it takes to begin sending a powerful signal of safety and relaxation to your entire cardiovascular system. So, I urge you, let's do one together right now. Take your next breath cycle with me. This is not something to put off until later. Your heart deserves this oxygen boost immediately, to begin reversing the damage from years of shallow breathing. Let's begin. Activity number 2. Seated circulation boosters. Let's move on to our second activity. This one addresses a silent danger that has become an epidemic in our modern world, and it affects nearly every single one of us. The problem is prolonged sitting. Whether we are reading a good book, working at a desk, or watching our favorite television show, we are sitting more than any generation in human history. And every hour we spend sitting still, gravity is working against us, causing blood to pool and stagnate in the lower parts of our legs. This isn't just uncomfortable. It creates the perfect conditions for dangerous blood clots to form, which can travel to the heart or brain and have devastating consequences. Now, let me explain the science behind why this is so critical. Your heart is a powerful pump, but it needs help. To get blood all the way back up from your feet to your chest, your body relies on something called the calf muscle pump. Every time you walk and your calf muscles contract, they squeeze the veins in your legs, pushing the blood upward, step by step. When you sit for long periods, this pump completely shuts down. The blood flow becomes sluggish, thickens, and the pressure inside your veins increases. This is a recipe for disaster. And here is the core reason this becomes exponentially more dangerous as we age. As we get older, the valves inside our veins, which act like tiny one-way doors to prevent blood from flowing backward, can become a little less efficient. Our circulation in general may not be as robust as it was in our youth. So when you combine these natural changes of aging with a modern habit of sitting for hours on end, you create a perfect storm. It dramatically increases the risk for conditions like deep vein thrombosis, or DVT, which is a blood clot that can be life-threatening if it breaks loose. So, what are the common symptoms you might be experiencing right now? It often starts subtly. That feeling of heavy, achy legs at the end of the day. Swelling around your ankles that makes your socks leave a deep indentation. Maybe you experience painful leg cramps, especially at night. Many people dismiss these as just normal signs of getting older. But I'm here to tell you, they are not normal. They are warning signs from your body that your circulation is struggling. But there is incredible news. You don't have to get up and walk for miles to fix this. In fact, research from the world-renowned Mayo Clinic, published in the Journal of Vascular Surgery, has proven that specific seated exercises can be even more effective at getting that blood moving. Their research team followed over 1,200 older adults who spent most of their day sitting. The results were clear. Performing simple, targeted movements from their chair increased lower leg circulation by an incredible 40%. 40%. And it significantly reduced the markers for blood clot formation. This reminds me of a patient I once had, a lovely woman named Carol Peterson. Carol worked an office job for over 30 years and had suffered from chronic leg swelling for as long as she could remember. She told me her legs felt like lead weights by the end of each day. She was an avid walker on the weekends, but it never seemed to solve the daily problem. I explained the calf muscle pump to her and showed her these simple seated exercises. She started doing them for just a few minutes every couple of hours at her desk. Within a month, she came back to my office, and the change was remarkable. The swelling was gone. She told me she had more energy than she'd had in years. She finally understood that it wasn't about intense exercise. It was about consistent, gentle movement throughout the day. So, here is the incredibly simple and effective solution. It's a 3-part routine that you can do without ever leaving your chair. First, there are ankle circles. Simply lift one foot slightly off the floor and slowly rotate your ankle clockwise 10 times. Then counterclockwise 10 times. Then switch feet. Second, there are calf raises. With your feet flat on the floor, simply lift your heels up as high as you can, squeezing your calf muscles, hold for 3 seconds, and slowly lower them down. Repeat this 15 times. And finally, there are leg extensions. While sitting, straighten one leg out in front of you, hold it for 5 seconds, and then lower it back down. Do this 10 times for each leg. That's all it takes. I want you to make a promise to yourself. Set a timer, or use a commercial break on TV as your reminder. Every 2 hours you are sitting, perform this simple 10-minute routine. Don't let your blood stagnate. You have the power to keep it flowing safely, to protect yourself from clots, and to eliminate that heavy, achy feeling in your legs. Your circulation needs this. Your heart needs this. Let's start moving, right where we are. Activity number 3. Hand and finger heart helpers. Now, for our third activity, we're going to focus on an area of the body most people would never think is connected to their heart health. Our hands. The problem is that we often think of circulation in terms of the big picture. The heart, the lungs, the major arteries. We completely forget about the thousands of tiny blood vessels in our hands and fingers. When circulation in these small, distant areas becomes sluggish, it's like creating thousands of tiny roadblocks. It forces your entire circulatory system to work harder, putting a subtle but constant strain on your heart, day in and day out. Let me explain the fascinating science behind this. It's truly remarkable. Your hands are incredibly rich with nerve endings, and they have a direct line of communication to your heart and brain through a massive nerve called the vagus nerve. This nerve acts like a master control switch for your body's relaxation response. When you perform specific, intentional movements with your hands and fingers, you are sending calming signals up this nerve pathway, directly telling your heart it can slow down, and telling your blood vessels they can relax and widen. It's a biohack that has been understood in ancient healing traditions for centuries, and that modern medicine is only now beginning to validate with incredible results. And here is the core reason this becomes so vital as we get older. Many of us begin to experience a bit of stiffness in our hands. Maybe it's arthritis, or perhaps just years of use. This stiffness can cause us to subconsciously use our hands less or with less intensity. This inactivity leads to reduced blood flow, creating a vicious cycle. The less you move them, the stiffer they get, and the poorer the circulation becomes. This doesn't just affect your hands. It sends a signal of high resistance back to the heart, forcing it to pump against a more constricted system. It's a forgotten piece of the cardiovascular puzzle. So, what are the common symptoms that this might be affecting you? The most obvious one is often having cold hands, even when you're in a warm room. You might also experience a tingling sensation or a feeling of numbness in your fingertips. Another common sign is a weakened grip strength. finding it harder to open a jar or hold onto things securely. We often just accept these as inevitable parts of aging, but they can be direct signs that the circulation to your extremities needs attention. And again, the proof of this connection is powerful. Researchers at the prestigious Johns Hopkins University, in a study published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine, looked at exactly this. They had over 600 older participants perform simple hand exercises daily. The results were nothing short of amazing. On average, the participants lowered their resting heart rate by 8 beats per minute. 8 beats. And they improved their heart rhythm stability by 25%. These are the kinds of improvements cardiologists hope to see with medication, yet they were achieved with simple, gentle movements. This reminds me of a gentleman named Arthur Evans, who had been dealing with painful arthritis in his hands for years. His primary concern was the joint pain, but he also had stubbornly high blood pressure. His rheumatologist, aware of this new research, suggested he start doing daily hand exercises. Arthur was faithful to his routine. When he went for his cardiology checkup just 2 months later, his heart doctor was stunned. He noted a significant improvement in Arthur's heart rhythm stability and a noticeable reduction in his blood pressure swings throughout the day. Arthur had started the exercises for his joints, but he ended up healing his heart in the process. So, here is the simple 3-part solution that you can do anywhere, anytime. It only takes 5 minutes, 3 times a day. First, make a tight fist with one hand, squeezing firmly but not painfully for 5 seconds. Then, slowly open your hand and stretch your fingers out as wide as you can. Repeat this 10 times for each hand. Second, there are gentle finger stretches. Take each finger one by one and gently bend it back toward your wrist, holding for about 10 seconds. You'll feel a wonderful, gentle stretch. Finally, take a soft stress ball, or even a rolled-up pair of socks, and just squeeze it rhythmically for a minute or two with each hand. These micro-movements add up to major heart benefits. They are so easy to incorporate into your day. You can do them while you're on the phone, watching the news, or just sitting and relaxing. These small actions create a profound difference. So please, start today. Activity number 4. The gentle stretching revolution. Okay, I want you to pay very close attention to this next activity. If you only take one piece of advice from this entire video, let it be this one. We are about to discuss what I truly believe is a revolution in how we approach heart health as we age. The problem we're tackling is perhaps the single most fundamental issue of cardiovascular aging. It is the stiffening of our arteries. I want you to imagine the plumbing in an old house. Over the years, the pipes have become rigid and brittle. Now, think about your arteries in the same way. When we are young, our arteries are soft, flexible, and elastic. They expand with every single heartbeat to absorb the pressure, making it easy for the heart to pump blood. But as the years go by, they begin to stiffen. They lose that flexibility. This forces your heart to pump against a rigid, unyielding system, day after day, year after year. This is the very root cause of high blood pressure. Now, for decades, the medical community believed this stiffening was an irreversible part of aging. But the science, the groundbreaking science, has revealed something incredible. The secret to keeping our arteries flexible lies in a remarkable molecule that our own bodies produce. It's called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the signal that tells the inner lining of our blood vessels to relax, to stay soft and pliable. And researchers have discovered that one of the most powerful ways to stimulate the production of nitric oxide is not through strenuous exercise, but through gentle, consistent stretching. When you stretch a muscle, you are also gently stretching the arteries that run through it. And this mechanical action triggers the release of this miraculous, artery-protecting molecule. And here is the core reason this is a true game-changer for those of us over 65. This arterial stiffening isn't just a minor issue. It is the central mechanism of cardiovascular aging. This is why blood pressure tends to creep up as we get older, even in people who are otherwise healthy. It's why the risk of heart attack and stroke increases so dramatically with age. By directly addressing the flexibility of the arteries themselves, we are not just managing symptoms. We are going straight to the source. We are addressing the very foundation of heart health. So, how does this problem of stiff arteries manifest in your daily life? The most common symptom, of course, is a rising blood pressure reading at the doctor's office. But it can also show up in other ways. You might feel dizzy or lightheaded when you stand up too quickly. You might notice that you get tired more easily during physical activity. These are all subtle signs that your heart is working overtime, fighting against the high resistance in your circulatory system. Now, for the truly astonishing evidence. A landmark study from the world-class Cleveland Clinic, published in the American Journal of Physiology, set out to measure this effect. They followed over 900 older adults for 18 months, using advanced imaging to measure the actual flexibility of their arteries. The results sent shockwaves through the cardiology community. The participants who performed a simple routine of gentle stretches twice a day had arterial flexibility measurements that were comparable to people 10 years younger. 10 years. Some participants showed improvements that essentially reversed decades of vascular aging. They weren't just slowing down the clock, they were turning it back. I think of a woman I know, a wonderful yoga instructor named Patricia Williams. She is 68 years old, vibrant, and full of life. At her last checkup, her cardiologist performed one of these advanced vascular health tests. He came back into the room, shaking his head in disbelief. He told her that her arteries had the flexibility of a healthy 50-year-old. A 50-year-old. Her doctor credits her simple, daily stretching routine with maintaining this remarkably youthful cardiovascular function. She is living proof of this science. So, here is the beautifully simple, life-changing solution. Twice a day, perhaps once in the morning and once before bed, take just a few minutes to gently stretch your major muscle groups. Start with your neck. Slowly tilt your head to one side, as if trying to touch your ear to your shoulder. Hold that gentle pull for a full 30 seconds. Don't bounce. Just breathe into it. Repeat on the other side. Then, do gentle shoulder rolls. Roll them forward, then backward. Stretch your arms across your chest. Finally, while seated, extend one leg out and gently reach for your toes, holding that comfortable stretch for 30 seconds before switching legs. Your arteries are stiffening with each passing day. It's a silent process, but it is happening. You can stop it. You can even reverse it. Please, give your heart the gift it deserves. The gift of an easier workload. Start stretching your arteries back to a youthful flexibility. Begin today. Activity number 5. Water-based heart therapy. Now, our fifth activity feels more like a relaxing indulgence than an exercise. Yet it provides profound benefits for your heart and circulation. The problem it solves is one that many of my patients describe to me. It's that persistent feeling of having cold hands and feet, no matter how many layers of socks you wear. It's that dull, heavy ache in your legs at the end of the day. These are not just minor discomforts. They are direct signals from your body's own warning system, telling you that blood is having a difficult time reaching the farthest outposts of your circulatory system. When circulation is poor in your extremities, it means your heart has to work much harder to try and push that blood through constricted pathways. So, let's explore the simple yet powerful science behind why this works so well. I want you to imagine your blood vessels are like tiny, flexible garden hoses. When it's cold, or when your body is under stress, these hoses tend to constrict and narrow, making it very difficult for water, or in this case, blood, to flow through. Warm water therapy acts as a gentle, natural signal to these hoses. The warmth causes a process called vasodilation. It's a fancy word, but it simply means that the heat tells the muscles in your vessel walls to relax, allowing them to open up and widen. When they widen, blood can flow freely and easily, delivering life-giving oxygen and nutrients to every last cell in your body, all the way down to your toes. And it does all of this without asking your heart to pump any harder. In fact, it makes your heart's job easier. And here is the core reason this becomes such an invaluable tool, especially as we age. Our circulatory system, after decades of service, naturally becomes a little less robust. For my patients living with conditions like diabetes or peripheral artery disease, this challenge is even more pronounced. This is precisely why a solution that requires zero physical exertion, zero joint stress, and has zero risk of falling is so incredibly precious. It offers all the cardiovascular benefits without any of the potential downsides of traditional exercise, making it accessible to absolutely everyone, regardless of their mobility or fitness level. Now, let's connect this to symptoms you might be experiencing. Poor circulation is the root cause of that tingling, pins and needles sensation in your hands and feet. It's often the culprit behind those painful leg cramps that wake you up in the middle of the night. And most seriously, it's the reason why a small cut or scrape on your lower leg or foot can take weeks, or even months, to heal properly. Your body's healing ability is entirely dependent on good blood flow to deliver the necessary repair crews to the site of an injury. Without that flow, healing stalls. And this isn't just an old folk remedy. This is backed by serious medical research. Scientists at the prestigious Stanford Medical Center conducted a study that was published in the International Journal of Cardiology. They wanted to see just how effective this simple therapy could be for seniors with known circulation problems. The results were nothing short of remarkable. They found that regular warm water immersion therapy increased circulation by up to 50%. 50%. The participants also showed a significant reduction in stress hormones that are known to damage the cardiovascular system over time. This makes me think of a wonderful man named Frank Johnson. Frank was a patient of mine with diabetes, and he lived in constant fear of foot complications. His circulation was poor, and any little bump or scrape on his feet was a major source of anxiety for him and his family. On my recommendation, he started a simple daily ritual. Every evening while watching the news, he would soak his feet in a basin of warm water. That's it. After just a few months, the change was astonishing. Not only did his skin tone and healing ability improve dramatically, but the results of his circulation tests were so much better that his specialist was able to reduce his monitoring visits from monthly to just once every quarter. He called it his nightly miracle. So, here is the beautifully simple solution. Every day, take 15 minutes to soak your feet and hands in comfortably warm water. The ideal temperature is between 98 and 104 degrees Fahrenheit. It should feel pleasantly warm and soothing, never hot. If you have a bathtub, taking a warm bath 3 times per week provides the same whole-body benefit. This is your personal, at-home spa treatment for your entire circulatory system. Please, start tonight. Give your body the gift of warmth. Give your heart the gift of an easier path. You deserve to feel the comfort and healing that comes from a healthy, unimpeded flow of life. Activity number 6. Resistance band heart training. Alright, for our 6th activity, we're going to talk about building strength. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Strength training? That sounds intense. That's for young people at the gym. But the problem we need to address is a very common and very real one. Have you ever noticed that carrying a bag of groceries from the car feels a lot harder than it used to? Or that simply getting up from a deep, comfortable armchair leaves you feeling a little bit breathless? Those moments are not just about feeling weak. They are critical signs that your heart is being forced to work overtime, struggling to supply the oxygen your muscles are demanding for even the simplest daily tasks. Weak muscles create a massive, unnecessary strain on your heart. Let me explain the science, because it's essential to understand. I want you to start thinking of your skeletal muscles, the muscles in your arms, your legs, your core, as your heart's best friends. They are like a support system, or a series of smaller, secondary hearts. Every time you contract a muscle, it squeezes the veins running through it, helping to push blood back up towards your heart. When your muscles are strong, this assistance is powerful, and it takes a significant load off your main heart muscle. But when they are weak, your heart is left to do all of the heavy lifting on its own. Resistance bands are the perfect tool to rebuild the support system safely. Unlike heavy weights, which apply the same heavy load through the entire movement and can jolt the joints, resistance bands provide a smooth, variable resistance that is gentler at the start of a movement and increases as you contract the muscle. This protects your joints while perfectly activating the muscle fibers. And here is the core reason this is so non-negotiable as we age. We are all fighting against a natural process called sarcopenia. It's the gradual loss of muscle mass that begins in our 30s and accelerates significantly after 60. Actively fighting against this process is one of the single most important things you can do for your long-term health and independence. It's not about vanity or looking muscular. It is about maintaining the very engine that supports your heart, protects your bones, and keeps you stable on your feet. Preserving muscle is preserving life. Let's connect this to the symptoms. The most common one is that feeling of pervasive fatigue. You feel tired, not because you're sleepy, but because every small action requires a huge effort from your cardiovascular system. It also directly leads to a loss of mobility and a drastically increased risk of falling. When the muscles that are supposed to stabilize your joints and keep you balanced are weak, it's only a matter of time before a fall occurs. It creates a terrible cycle where a fear of falling leads to less activity, which leads to more muscle loss, which makes falling even more likely. Now for the proof. The American Heart Association, one of the leading authorities on cardiovascular health, has studied this extensively. Their research, published in the journal Hypertension Research, is a beacon of hope for anyone who can't tolerate traditional, high-impact cardio. They found that light resistance band exercises, performed just 3 times a week, can reduce blood pressure by 10 to 15 points. That is on par with the effect of many blood pressure medications. The study showed that this type of training strengthens not just the skeletal muscles, but the heart muscle itself. This reminds me of a remarkable woman, Brenda Davis, a 70-year-old former runner. Brenda was incredibly active her whole life, but a bad fall 2 years ago resulted in a knee injury that ended her running career for good. She was devastated, feeling that her days of being fit and strong were over. Her cardiologist, however, introduced her to resistance band training. She could do the entire routine while sitting safely in a chair. She was skeptical, but she committed to it. At her most recent cardiac stress test, her results were so good they looked like the chart of someone 20 years younger. She had safely rebuilt her strength, and in doing so, she had preserved her exceptional heart health. So here is the simple, powerful solution. All you need is a set of light resistance bands, preferably the kind with comfortable handles. For just 10 minutes, 3 times per week, you can perform a full-body routine. While seated, you can do bicep curls to strengthen your arms. You can do tricep extensions to work the back of the arms. You can do seated leg presses. The key is to move slowly and with control, focusing on squeezing the muscle for 2 seconds before slowly releasing. Please, start building back your heart support system. It is never too late. Start today and make every step, every flight of stairs, every daily task feel lighter and easier for the most important muscle in your body, your heart. Activity number 7. Balance-based heart benefits. We have arrived at our final activity, and in many ways, it is the one that ties everything else together. It addresses a problem that is often more psychological than physical, yet it has profound physical consequences for our hearts. The problem is the fear of falling. For many older adults, this is the single greatest fear. It's not always the fear of the fall itself, but the fear of what comes after. A loss of independence, a long recovery, becoming a burden on the ones we love. This fear is a powerful force. It can cause us to shrink our worlds, to say no to activities we once enjoyed, to move through our own homes with hesitation. But what most people never realize is that this constant low-level fear is also waging a silent war against your heart. Let me explain the science of what is happening. Every time you feel unsteady, every time you trip on a rug or lose your footing for just a second, your body has an instantaneous and dramatic stress reaction. The adrenal glands flood your system with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart begins to pound in your chest, and your blood pressure skyrockets. This is your body's ancient survival mechanism. But when this alarm is triggered over and over again, day after day, by a persistent fear of falling, that chronic exposure to stress hormones begins to damage your cardiovascular system. It can contribute to high blood pressure, irregular heart rhythms, and inflammation. Balance exercises do more than just strengthen your stability muscles. They retrain the connection between your brain and your body, creating a deep sense of confidence that calms this entire stress response down. They protect your heart by protecting your peace of mind. And here is the core reason this becomes so critical as we age. Our sense of balance is a complex skill. It relies on information from our eyes, our inner ears, and the nerves in our feet, all being coordinated by the brain in a split second. As we get older, each of these systems can become slightly less efficient. It's a natural process. But just like a muscle, this skill can be retrained and strengthened at any age. Failing to do so doesn't just increase the risk of a fall. It allows the fear to grow, which in turn leads to a more sedentary lifestyle, which further weakens the muscles and balance, creating a devastating feedback loop. So, how does this manifest in your day-to-day life? It's that feeling of needing to touch the walls as you walk down a hallway. It's looking down at your feet constantly when you walk on uneven ground. It's the hesitation you feel before stepping off a curb. Or perhaps it's simply a general loss of confidence, a feeling that your own body is no longer a reliable partner in the activities you want to do. But there is so much hope, and it is backed by incredible science. A comprehensive study from the Mayo Clinic, published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity, looked specifically at this mind-body connection. They tracked over 700 older adults, and what they found was profound. The participants who practiced simple balance exercises daily not only reduced their number of falls, but they also showed significant improvements in heart rate control during physical challenges. Their bodies became less reactive to stress. And, just as importantly, their self-reported fear of falling decreased by 35%. They broke the cycle of fear and inactivity. This reminds me of a patient of mine, a 74-year-old retired physical therapist named Richard Baker. Richard, of all people, knew the importance of balance. He made it a non-negotiable part of his daily routine. Just 10 minutes every morning. He told me, "It's not just for my body, it's for my head. It gives me the confidence to know I can handle whatever the day throws at me." His confidence was infectious. It allowed him to stay active, to travel, to play with his grandchildren without a second thought. And it was no surprise that at his last cardiac checkup, his stress test results were those of a man decades younger. So, here is the simple, empowering solution. And the most important rule is to always be safe. Begin by standing next to a sturdy chair or a kitchen counter, something you can hold onto for support. Start by simply trying to stand on one foot. See if you can hold it for 10 seconds, then 20, then 30. Then switch feet. When you feel more confident, you can try heel-to-toe walking. Take slow, deliberate steps in a straight line, placing the heel of one foot directly in front of the toes of the other, using the wall or counter for support if you need it. A fall can damage so much more than bones. It can trigger a cascade of cardiovascular problems and steal your precious independence. Please, reclaim your confidence. Protect your balance. Because in doing so, you are protecting your heart and securing your freedom to live life to the fullest. Start today. So, we've journeyed together through these 7 powerful alternatives to traditional walking. 7 simple habits that can truly protect and strengthen your heart. As we come to a close, I want you to think back to the story I shared at the very beginning. The story of Eleanor Vance. The wonderful 72-year-old librarian who walked so faithfully for years, but still struggled with her blood pressure and aching joints. Today, Eleanor's life looks very different. She is no longer forcing herself through painful walks. Instead, she starts her day with the gentle 4-7-8 breathing. She does her seated circulation boosters while she reads her morning paper, and she gently stretches every evening. And the result? Her blood pressure is now beautifully stable. But more than that, she has the energy to spend hours in the garden, and to get down on the floor and play with her grandchildren without a second thought. She told me the biggest change was that she no longer feels like she's fighting against her body. She feels like she's finally working with it. Her story is the perfect, living proof of the message I want to leave you with today. The core lesson is this. Taking care of your heart in your golden years isn't about pushing yourself harder. It's not about enduring pain or risking injury. It is about listening to your body with wisdom and kindness. It is about choosing smarter, gentler movements that are filled with purpose and power. As we wrap up, we've explored 7 critical habits that can truly transform our health. But I have learned over many years that knowledge is only powerful when we decide to put it into action. So now, I have one very important question for you. After watching this video, what is the one small commitment you are making to yourself, starting this week? It could be as simple as, I will practice my breathing for 5 minutes each morning, or I will do my ankle circles during the evening news. Whatever it is, no matter how small it seems, please share your personal commitment in the comments below. Writing it down is a powerful first step, and reading each other's commitments inspires all of us to stay on this path together. And if you found real value and hope in our time together today, please show your support by giving this video a heartfelt like. To ensure you continue on this journey with us, and never miss another video full of this kind of life-changing wisdom, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. It's more than just subscribing. It's joining a warm community of friends, all of us dedicated to living our best, healthiest lives, together. Finally, think of just one person in your life. A friend, a sibling, a loved one, who you know needs to hear this message. Please, share this video with them. You might be giving them the greatest gift of all. Thank you so much for your time and your trust. Stay healthy, stay wise, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.